Hello and welcome to yet another video. This is the 6th episode in which the Hokage and the ANBU commander observe Naruto's use of shadow clones that night. The commander recruits the newly graduated Naruto for his forces by guilt-tripping the Hokage. Join Naruto as he becomes Team Ro's 4th member and discover what this means for Naruto's plot. This story is from Theraku 260, please support her. Please like and subscribe to show your support. Let's get the show started. Forest of Death, with teams 8, 9, and 10. Shikamaru and Lee shared goofy grins, Lee giving a good guy pose. Yash! We will shine our flames of youth through a most youthful battle for the scroll. Lee exclaimed. Shikamaru chuckled. Let's play some shogi. Shikamaru said. Ino widened her eyes before grabbing Choji and tugging him away while everyone was transfixed on the youthful duo. If shogi shows our flames, I am pumped. Wosh! Lee screamed in happiness. Niji and Tenten shared sighs at their friend, while teammate backed away slowly, not wanting to catch whatever illness it was Lee and Shikamaru had. I too am excited for our youthful battle, the Nara said. Then, to the surprise of Team 9, he smirked. He turned. And he ran, launching a basic kunai trap Ino had set up moments before they were surrounded. Wosh! A most youthful race, Shikamaru-kun. Let us race to the tower like a true cat and mouse. Lee! Damn it, Tenten, let's go. Niji ordered before the remaining members of Team 9 followed into the trees. Both had thoughts to end the farce of a pursuit quickly and painfully. Hinata watched her cousin leave and moved to follow, flinching when Kiba put a hand on her shoulder to stop the effort. Ano, shouldn't we follow Niji, Nizan? She asked timidly. Over the last few months, her confidence had improved marginally under the ANBU's tutelage, but being near her hostile family member sent her back to square one. Let those bastards leave. That cousin of yours was more trouble than he was worth, Kiba scoffed. Hinata looked ready to protest until Shino stepped in. We are near the IWA team according to my allies, we'll relieve them of their scroll before heading to the tower. I do not trust Niji-san. The Aburame stated firmly. Hinata hesitated before nodding and the three set off, getting further and further away from her cousin she was instructed to stay by. With teams 9 and 10. Ino looked at Shikamaru in worry, as he kept shouting about youth even as they ran from the mentally unstable Lee and murderous Niji and Tenten. This has to be because of that poison. Arg, you better go back to being lazy, you baka. Ino thought. She could see the tower clearing and prayed they could reach the entrance in time. Just then she blocked a barrage of shuriken that embedded themselves into her right hand and arm, making jutsu impossible. Ino screamed in pain as blood spurted out of the wound and was carelessly kicked to the ground mid-jump by Tenten. The brunette sneered at the short-haired blonde. You were ready to give up back there, blondie. Partial expansion jutsu. The most beautiful voice Ino had ever heard shouted as a large, meaty arm courtesy of Choji blocked another barrage of kunai. The large shinobi looked livid as he stood in front of his friend who was currently bleeding on the forest floor. Shikamaru had been ruthlessly knocked out by an exuberant Lee and was deposited on the ground. Next to Choji courtesy of the green-wearing shinobi. Yash! You were most youthful opponents, but we have triumphed over you today. Never fear though. After the exams we can bask our flames of youth together. Lee shouted before running towards the tower. Tenten sighed before following, dragging a livid-looking Niji with her. Choji waited a few moments before canceling his jutsu. With a sigh, the only conscious member of Team 10 carried his friends gently towards the tower to forfeit and receive medical attention. I knew the Chunin exam was a bad idea. With Naruto and Ro. The IWA genin were baffled when they jumped straight into a tree that looked like empty space courtesy of Naruto's false surroundings genjutsu. While too weak for any ANBU mission and requiring far too much concentration for the Jinchuriki to keep up for his Chunin missions, it was perfect for the weaklings below. Well, they weren't weak, Naruto admitted to himself. They were just inexperienced. Hikaru gave him a thumbs up from a higher perch, while Deidara looked exhausted. Naruto wasn't sure why the other blonde wasn't in a hospital. However, it wasn't his place, so he dropped it. Ro had stumbled upon the IWA on their third sweep of the area and couldn't resist some subtle sabotage. It was his way of keeping entertained after assigning Angel to guard Sasuke and Team 7. Leaving his partner behind was annoying, seeing as Hikaru and Deidara seemed to see it as an opportunity to bug the blonde ANBU with signed practical jokes behind Tenzo's back. Nothing he didn't expect if he was being honest. Of course, Naruto wasn't expecting Shino's bugs to shoot towards the now defensive IWA team. Nor was he expecting Kiba and Akamaru to send a loud Fong over Fong into the triangle formation team, who split apart with practiced ease. And Naruto really wasn't expecting Hinata to engage the enemy. With Team 9 nowhere in sight. A glance towards Tenzo's retreating back as his captain landed next to the newly arrived Team Hawk confirmed his suspicions that something wasn't right. Oi! Furball, why didn't you tell me Hinata's team was coming? Grr. I did, but you were focusing on setting up that weak genjutsu that I still wonder why you haven't mastered it. I did master it, but genjutsu is my weak area, you know this. It's why I haven't used it much since Dragon-sama taught it to me. TSK, whatever. Anyways, that Hyuga did warn you about them approaching, but you were zoned out. If I had to guess, it would be because of Orochimaru. Naruto blushed at the accusation that he knew was true and cut off the conversation in favor of watching the Konoha team get destroyed, save for Shino. Hinata had been picked apart by the girl with sealed chakra, who apologized after tying the Hyuga girl up with reinforced wire. Shino was in a bind when one of the males incinerated half his colony in one go when they rose up for a barrier attack. His muscles tensed when Akamaru was knocked out. And had a kunai stuck to his throat courtesy of the obvious leader. He glanced over to his captain, and relaxed when Tenzo ordered a no intervention from Ro. Time to see how they handle this. Will it be like Shinobi? Or children caught in the cookie jar? Team 8 and IWA. Shino sked in annoyance at the whole situation before him. He had a beautiful plan, all laid out, that involved his bugs casually draining the other team's chakra. But then Kiba got impatient before the first swarm could make their move, citing the bastard are almost to the tower. In a spontaneous burst of stupidity, Shino ordered his allies to burst out of the ground at once in order to give Kiba a chance. Of course that failed. Logic would have dictated a retreat, but his teammates were too engaged in battle to allow that, and Shino found his careless move ending in the death of his stronger batch of insects. If only, the Abure mused as Akamaru hung limp in the air, they were in leech territory. Alas, they weren't even near wasp spiders, and endangering the endangered carnivorous beetles around him was a last resort. Instead, Shino pushed his glasses up and focused on diplomacy. Give us the dog and your scroll, or your third member will die from her blood loss. Shino promised, much to everyone's confusion. Just then the girl who was holding Hinata bound found an elongated kunai piercing the hand that held Hinata and flying through her torso. Ack! Was the girl's cry as she fell forward, Hinata sheepishly jumping away. The seal on her sleeve, that her weird cousin, Hikaru, gave her right before the exam, Shino remembered, was glowing before disappearing. Hinata landed next to Shino and bravely gave no indication that she regretted using a trigger seal to impale her enemy. Even better was the paralyzing poison attached to it. Why, you monsters! Hideo spat. All rational thought that he would, and has in the past employed the same tactic in the past, was forgotten. You're surrounded and have no chance. Why? Because insects are everywhere, and I have already drained half your chakra. Hand us our comrade and the scroll and we'll let you leave alive. Shino spoke coldly, bluffing about the insects and knowing less than a third of the boy's chakra was gone. Hideo felt woozy and noticed the vermin on him, sucking away his chakra. Mari was unconscious and gasping for air, most likely a nicked lung the culprit. Hideo was pissed at himself and his team but knew his sensei would kill him if he let pride kill a teammate. Akiko, he spat. The silent boy tossed the scroll with little emotion and lifted up Mari. Akamaru was dropped unceremoniously on the ground but no one reacted. The boys prepared for the Konoha scum to attempt to finish them off. However, they were allowed to pass and the last team of IWA raced in the direction of the tower, tails between their legs. Shino let out a breath he didn't know he was holding before turning to Kiba with a scary look on his face. Kiba. The Inuzuka gulped as Shino glared. We will talk about this later. Hinata was released from the wire, and they set off silently. Hinata stewed about her moment of courage while Kiba cradled a now-awake Akamaru. And Shino? His eyebrows were raised when a scouting ally brought back the chakra of a very familiar blonde that was apparently in the trees the entire time along with an interesting description. Uzumaki-san, just what are you doing wearing an ANBU uniform? Back in the trees. Clueless about the Aburame discovering his secret yet proud about his former classmates' performances, Naruto sent a wave to Hawk as the two squads parted paths, Rose still on patrol while Hawk shadowed the Eris's team to the tower. Tenzo looked mighty pleased when he informed them they had won the bet and that they would be voting on the mission Hawk would take over the next squad dinner. I vote Tora. Hikaru signed. Naruto nodded with a vicious smile behind his masks. He had been meaning to teach Tora-chan how to make clones. First, that's so mundane. Second, we're on duty, Tenzo signed in reprimand. Hi, Taicho, apologies Naruto signed back sheepishly. Looking at the sky as they continued on, the blonde was pleased they had a mere 9 hours left of this monotony. Deep in T&I, Dragon didn't allow a tear to escape his mask as Kakashi slept on the cot, blissfully unaware that he was in front of family. Soon he'd wake up with his curse seal deactivated courtesy of the same methods Dragon employed on Sai all those months ago, but for now Dragon was left to his thoughts. The night of the Uchiha massacre was not one Shursui wished to recall. Having been recovering from his battle and subsequent farce of a suicide, Shursui hadn't been there during the bloodbath. But he was there in the morgue amongst the mutilated bodies, some so charred on the face that only later would DNA reveal their identities. The babies and children had been the worst, and Shursui had thought they were the victims of the second killer, as Itachi would never burn children. Shursui remembered that night, crying over the tiny bodies while the Hokage kept the room free of any prying eyes. Takashi and his little sister Suki were often left in Shursui's care while their father plotted in the elder meetings not even Shursui was privy to. He changed their diapers, taught a 4-year-old Takashi how to hold a kunai, and thought about them if he didn't see them at least once a month. Their deaths were a black mark on the commander's soul that he carried around constantly. It was a wedge in his heart and one of the many reasons he carried on living. No child would die like that again. But now Shursui faced the possibility that Suki, along with the other Uchiha children, were alive and brainwashed by Danzo. Danzo was slated for death, but now it would be thousands of times worse. Takashi began stirring and Shursui prepared to steel his nerves. He knew the Sharingan would be used, and thus prepared for an exercise in restraint against killing the warhawk that plagued him for 5 years. 5 infinite, gut-wrenching years. Takashi Uchiha. Shursui said in a bored tone. The boy gave a glare. Oh, the famous Uchiha glare. I'm shaking in my mask. I won't talk, Takashi snapped in a surprising show of emotion that proved he was taken too late for Danzo's full emotional conditioning program. Tisk, TSK. I'm sure you wouldn't, if you had a choice. The thing is, however. Kakashi gazed into the now active Mangekyo Sharingan, completely in a daze. You don't have a say in the matter. For the next 4 hours Shursui would hear exactly what was happening in Danzo's innermost circle of darkness. Team 7's quarters. Sasuke, Sakura, and Sai sat in silence, though all for different reasons. Angel was napping Sakura's lap after claiming Naruto was on duty in the tower at the girl's question. Sai was silent as he contemplated what happened in the forest. The ambush, his willingness to die for his team, and the Sharingan. Sai knew he was lucky Hikaru-sensei showed up, or else he, and possibly Sasuke and Sakura, would be dead. These past months had shown Sai that life wasn't a canvas of black lines that led him from mission to mission for Danzo-sama. Instead, it was shades of pink and fists. Of blue and bad attitudes. Of silver and tardiness. And of every shade Sai could think of that blurred together in a beautiful mess that represented his life now. With new resolve, Sai swore to himself to make sure that mess never disappeared. He'd protect his team, no, his friends, and never go back to that shell of a person he was. Sasuke, meanwhile, was caught on his former classmate, Naruto. The pair was never close. Sasuke had even attacked him in a stupid rage months ago. Of course, Sasuke's problem with the blonde originated in the academy. At the beginning of the academy, Sasuke and Naruto were in separate classes. Naruto was foolish, but brilliant. His pranks on the instructor were legendary, yet his grades were rumored to be abysmal despite his loud claims that he did his homework correctly. Sasuke would grumble at how carefree the boy seemed while he struggled to bring his father pride. When they were merged into one class, Sasuke took to ignoring the orphan idiot, as he was called. Then, that night happened. And afterwards, Sasuke was alone. He would see the blonde walk by him with a wave or arrive at his desk to find Naruto trying to rope him into a prank. Of course Sasuke always ignored him with a vengeance. Graduating, Sasuke was joyed to find Naruto wasn't on his team, even if Sai freaked him out more than Sakura's fantasies. Sasuke remembers the first time he saw Naruto in ANBU gear, not that he realized it at the time, was the moment Sasuke realized how little age seemed to matter power-wise. No longer was his brother a god that none could reach. And when Sasuke had his tail whipped by Naruto, the supposed desk shinobi, he realized that beginnings meant nothing, that even an orphan dead last could soar. Of course he hated Naruto for a long time as he wasn't soaring nearly as high. The night Naruto broke into his apartment to give the friendly advice about his name, Sasuke still hated him. Hated that he never seemed to leave the village yet effortlessly destroyed him. Hated that on diplomatic missions Naruto led them around like puppies. Hated that the boy 6 months younger than him was 3 times more mature and powerful just weeks after graduation. But then Naruto became the ANBU from all those months ago. He was someone who protected them. Now, Sasuke didn't know what to feel. Hatred was gone, that he knew. Even if Naruto wasn't a friend, Sasuke knew he wasn't a pesky worm under his skin. Naruto had become a comrade. While the two males in the room had emotional revelations, Sakura was utterly confused. She was told rather bluntly that what happened after she was knocked out by something, her memory was fuzzy, was a village secret. She was forbidden from asking anyone about it. That made the brilliant medic curious. And a curious kunoichi was a dangerous kunoichi, as Sakura's mother would say. With a determined look, Sakura decided she'd figure out what had happened in the forest that made Sasuke look contemplative and sighed determined. After she kicked everyone's ass and became a chunin, of course. Then her boys would spill their secrets. Team Kyumo. Meanwhile, Yuzu Otosuki was having a bad day. It began with her stupidly getting separated from her friends when a giant snake barreled through her team, separating them. When she awoke and started searching for Taro and Saki, she came into a clearing that was completely demolished. A bloody but intact scroll made it worthwhile, though. However, her search for her team led her to the Suna team, the one with the psycho red head. Yuzu had been warned by her uncle to stay away from him before the exams, but seeing her friends surrounded by sand stopped all reason from reaching her brain. With a lightning-charged kunai she aimed for a head shot at the red head that was choking Saki slowly. When the sand protected the monster who now wore a manic grin, Yuzu gulped. That gulp was her last action before sand created a coffin around her form and crushed her. She never even got to scream. The only comfort was Taro and Saki, who followed their teammate to the afterlife barely a second later. Their lost souls would have grave consequences. Sand team, after Gara's slaughter. Temari gulped as Gara killed the beloved niece of the former Raikage and member of the current Raikage's extended family. When Gara left the bodies in the sand, not bothering to destroy the evidence and ordered them to leave them, Temari knew that it would come to bite them later. She only hoped she could get out of the way before it did. Back with Ro, after the exams. While technically off duty. As the second phase was ended and Hawk had picked up the corpses of the dead genin teams, every shinobi in the building not taking the exams were on the ceiling beams to watch the match-up process for round 3. Even Deidara, still not talking much with side effects from his battle, was there. Naruto noticed Tenzo ordered him to go to the hospital immediately after, however. 12 genin, 6 matchups in the first round. Normally a preliminary would be called, but with most of the candidates being Konoha genin, the Hokage had decided to make an exception and put time limits on the final phase first rounds. 10 minutes to knock your opponent out or you both get disqualified. Naruto listened in amusement as the Hokage gave the made-up, albeit true, reason for the time limit that most shinobi battles lasted mere moments and that drawing a fight out too long led to an early death. More like death by boredom for the spectators, Naruto mused. Kurama snorted in agreement. Throwing shade at the exam, I see. The fox commented. Naruto huffed and ignored the bijou. Instead he looked down at the genin drawing numbers. The first round has been decided through complete randomness. Hey 8, the chosen proctor, stressed when Sakura mentioned it could be rigged to be unfair. Even though it was totally rigged, Konoha would deny it to the genin. Naruto was actually the one to help Jiraiya come up with the seal that let the Hokage pre-load which number ball a drawer would pull. First match, Hinata Hyuga v Sakura Haruno. Second match, Kiba Inazuka v Rock Lee. Third match, Kankuro no Sabaku v Shino Aburame. Fourth match, Tenten v Temari no Sabaku. Fifth match, Niji Hyuga v Sai. Sixth match, Gara no Sabaku v Sasuke Uchiha. We will see you in exactly 1 month, your senseis will have more information. May the will of fire burn brightly in you all. At the last name, Sasuke sighed even as the Suna genin gave quizzical looks, not realizing an Uchiha was in the exams. The plan to keep him off the radar for the survival portion worked, it seemed. However, Sasuke was rather glad he could wear his clan crest again, especially since the only foreigners were their allies in Suna. Nothing to worry about. While the various genin were fretting over their matchups and following their senseis back to the village, the ANBU were already making bets on the outcomes. I bet 1 month's rent that Shino throttles Kankuro, Hawk wagered. Hikaru laughed. And I bet a free special order of seals courtesy of Chibi, Kohai that Sai beats my cousin. Hikaru countered. Everyone gaped at the Hyuga betting against his family. However, Naruto gaped for a different reason. You moron, don't make me bartering chip. He growled and whacked his senpai on the head. Yugao smacked Naruto for talking aloud and Deidara accidentally poked Naruto in the side. Tenzo just sweat dropped at his team before motioning for them to leave. Finally, the next day, Naruto's apartment. Waking up to silence was a beautiful thing. Guy and Kakashi were out of the village training their teams, Jiraiya was meetings all day, Angel was with Dragon for some special assignment, and Tenzo gave the entire team the day off. Deidara was in the hospital for minor chakra exhaustion and an allergic reaction to the antivenom, ensuring a stress-free day. Life was beautiful in Naruto's book. Dressed in his off-duty attire, the blonde strolled to the door of his apartment for a mid-morning walk. Grabbing his key, Naruto opened the door, already activating his security seals and ready for a relaxing day of hot springs and reading. Naruto, NAI. A pleasant voice greeted him. Naruto blinked as he closed his door and looked down to see Momo. Along with Konohamaru and his friends, all four of them covered in paint with sheepish looks. Momo, what the heck happened? Naruto asked, dumbfounded, and worried about the girl not being in classes. Well, you see. She began with a gulp. Save us from Irika. Konohamaru butted in and latched himself onto Naruto's leg. He proceeded to rant about some prank gone wrong that led to Irika's test papers being ruined and the four of them running for their lives. Naruto sighed and repressed a groan. He personally only talked to the boy a couple of times and didn't mind him, but the brat was bugging him on his day off and ruining his comfy pants. A chain wrapped itself around each child and lifted them to eye level. Now, anyone want to explain why I'm being assaulted on my day off by chibis? Naruto said in a scary voice while letting a light illuminate his face mask. All four gulped and wondered if running to Naruto was a good idea, even if they were desperate. With Naruto, outside his apartment. Naruto watched in amusement as the four chibis squirmed, Konohamaru then realizing something. Hey! You're that ANBU from forever ago that let me call you boss. And that meanie from the Academy Trap course. Konohamaru blurted out and fluidly pointed at him. Naruto felt his eye twitching, not particularly enjoying the memory of that day. Flashback, within 4 months of Naruto joining Ro, sitting in a tree watching the honorable grandson skip out on private tutoring was not Naruto's idea of a good time. Sure, being stuck with Ebisu sucked, but Naruto resented being assigned this farce of a mission after Hikaru blamed him for clogging the locker room toilets at HQ. Worse yet was that Dragon Sama knew it was Hikaru's doing but said Naruto needed to connect with the next generation or something. Naruto decided to use the mission time to attempt to draw a seal that would make Dragon Sama pick someone else to bother. Thankfully, clones and Angel meant Naruto got to rest in the shade instead of in the muggy spring sunlight. Konohamaru kept being a brat and making Angel grow so he could ride her. The poor hell cat just wanted to nap away the heat. Oi, quit picking on Angel, brat, she's an ANBU animal, not some pet. You can order around. Naruto ordered, his glare hidden by his mask but tone conveying his feelings perfectly. Konohamaru huffed. TSK, what you going to do about it? I'm the third Hokage's grandson, and you're just an ANBU, you have to listen to what I say. Ha! I only answer to my superior shinobi officers and the Hokage, of which you are neither. Naruto scoffed. Well, you still should listen to me. Especially since I'm going to be Hokage one day. The academy student tried to release killing intent to look intimidating. Not with that attitude you're not. Do you even know what a Hokage does? Of course I do. A Hokage is the strongest in the village and kicks other people's butts and is loved by all, Konohamaru replies instantly. Naruto rolls his eyes, realizing the boy was like he used to be. Not really, no. Sure, Hokage is loved and respected for their accomplishments, but they do more than just kick people's butts. A Hokage sacrifices everything. They are the last to celebrate a victory and the first casualty to protect the village. They love everyone who is loyal to our village, from the tiniest newborn to the most senile elder. However, a Hokage would sacrifice any one of these people for the greater good and still force themselves to be human. Do you love as a Hokage does? Do you have a heart of steel that loves unconditionally? With each sentence, Naruto felt his conviction steel, felt his loyalty to his Kage deepen. How could he judge a man that sacrificed everything and still saw the light? Naruto knew he would never be a Hokage, even if he felt he could make those sacrifices, and that he wouldn't want to be. Konohamaru, however, only looked readier for the hat. I do. I promise I will be the best Hokage ever, and protect the village even better than my grandfather. Then I look forward to serving under you, Konohamaru Sarutobi. Naruto said with warmth. Angel nodded along, still not completely understanding what was happening, and decided to take a nap. Konohamaru ignored her. Why, you said my name, he said in awe. Naruto cocked an eyebrow. Yes. Why wouldn't I? Nobody does. Gigi named me after the village, but everyone calls me honorable grandson or ignores me. Here, the child shuffled under Naruto's intense gaze. Naruto held it, before scoffing. Well, I'm not just anybody, I'm ANBU Agent Mouse. Keep making your own path and I'm sure the whole world will know the name of Konohamaru. Really? Konohamaru asked with tears. Naruto nodded. I like you. You can be my boss, and teach me more than Ebisu. Naniathai was heard throughout the village as a panicked echo. End flashback. Yes, a touching moment it was, until the brat decided to pester him for training. It took Naruto volunteering for a solo escort mission to River Country to get the brat off his trail. Those couple of weeks of Konohamaru somehow tracking the ANBU down everywhere except his home were hell. And now the heathen knew where he lived, courtesy of his precious almost sister, Momo. The girl had the audacity to smile sweetly at him too. Realizing he was staring off into space, Naruto cleared his throat. And if you brats ever reveal my identity or try to prank my apartment, I will follow Code 542. The blonde said gravely. The four gulped. See Code 542? Udon questioned shakily. Naruto nodded gravely and used his best acting, lying, skills to the test. Yes, a serious ANBU rule. See, when someone reveals who we are, us ANBU have to put them through a Yamanaka mind wipe. It's too bad that mind wiping only one memory is difficult, and as such the Yamanaka have to wipe large sections of memory. You don't want to end up like poor Hikaru Hyuga, do you? Hikaru Hyuga? Moegi asked. Momo narrowed her eyes at Naruto but grinned when he winked. Yes, poor Hikaru. He used to be like every other Hyuga, stiff, boring, and a genius. But then he blabbed to his mother someone's ANBU identity. Now he's worse than an Energizer bunny on crack and thinks cockroaches make good ninja pets. Do you four want to end up like poor little Hikaru? No. Was the three terrified and one amused response. Good, now what's this about the tests? Momo, you're 3 years ahead of them as well. Momo gulped. Well, Konohamaru here failed barely, was said boy's indignant defense. Yes, barely failed his village history test again. This is his 4th failed test of the term, so Irika-sensei would have to have a parent-teacher conference. Which would be with Hokage-sama since Konohamaru doesn't have parents, Naruto finished with a sigh. The tiny Fuinjutsu user nodded shyly. Yes, Nii-san. So he had me help make paint seals so he could make the tests unreadable. Then, Irika-sensei would have to give a retest. I agreed if he would study this time. I didn't think Irika-sensei would get so mad at them, and then Konohamaru dragged us out and I got scared so I ran to you. Momo finished in a rush. The other 3 looked down in shame. The blonde softened his gaze. Well, I'm sure Irika-sensei will still punish you, but I won't take you to him. You won't? Konohamaru shouted. Naruto shook his head. You're the best, boss. Boss. Momo and the others saluted while still hanging. I won't be taking you there personally as I don't want to spend my off day being tied to whatever punishment you all receive. Naruto said, knowing that somehow he would be blamed seeing as he was the one to have taught Momo the paint tags and more advanced Fuinjutsu. No, I will be taking you to the hospital where I know my dear friend Yugao is. She'll be taking you to Irika. Naruto relished the looks of betrayal but knew it was necessary to have Yugao and Irika scare the daylights out of them. These four didn't realize how fortunate they were not to be sabotaged throughout the academy, to be able to graduate on their own merit and not someone else's heinous plot. Naruto would ensure they didn't do something so stupid again. The prank was fine, as it built shinobi skills. The covering up of the failed test was not, however. Cheating didn't exist in the shinobi world, but the academy was where one learned the right way to learn, one not reliant on underhanded tactics. It built work ethic and honor in one's accomplishments. So, Naruto would gift the children his cruel lesson in life. Even if they were adorable when they called him boss. 10 minutes later of carrying the still-bound chibis, Naruto arrived in the hospital through the back door and located Yugao walking out of a room with Hey-8, who was getting a standard checkup on his lungs. Senpais. The blonde called, getting the attention of his superiors. Hey-8 waved while Yugao smiled slightly. Naruto, you've picked up some strays. Yugao chuckled. Naruto smiled and plopped the kids without ceremony in front of his dear senpai. Well yes, see. These brats set off paint bombs in the academy and I need you to take them to Irika, sensei for punishment. Wait. Naruto, thanks senpai, knew I could count on you, but now I gotta go. Naruto saluted and used his shunshin to escape the woman. He had a shadow clone stick around as a fly to see the woman focus her entire killing intent on the brats who cost her an hour of her day off. 5 minutes later. Naruto cracked up as he made his way towards Deidara's room, figuring a short visit would be nice. You're rather vicious today, you do know that Catwoman will gut us for this, right? Kurama deadpanned from the seal. You may have a death wish, but I personally hate reforming. Piesich, you worry too much. It was worth it, the village awaits an adventure of relaxation. Naruto thought back with giddiness, his first real day off in forever and he wouldn't let anyone ruin it. Then the negative emotion at the end of the hall, Deidara's room, made him sober up. Shoot, what now? Naruto muttered mentally while already unsealing his sword and sharpening it with wind chakra. He sent a shadow clone to alert the supposed ANBU guards. Technically Deidara was supposed to be in the ANBU and Jonin ward, but had been moved when the IWA team was placed in it for security purposes. Be careful, that annoyance has a Jonin-level chakra signature angry at him. Thanks, Kurama. 3 feet to the door, I'll shunshin in and come in quietly if you want the traitor to live, a distinctly feminine voice ordered. Naruto sucked in his breath and burst into the room. The IWA Jonin, the one Naruto was warned to stay away from, had Deidara tied up using the sheets and a kunai at his throat. He ignored Deidara's eyes that screamed to get away and chose to focus on the fact a foreign kunoichi had managed to somehow get past the ANBU on the floor of her students and discover his teammate. IWA Nin, stand down immediately. Naruto barked. The woman grinned viciously. Nay, and why should I brat? It can't be because of this traitor here who spits on his parents' graves by joining your cesspool of a village. There's another kunai stuck in his femoral artery and preventing him from bleeding out. It can't be my students, as they are ready to use the suicide jutsu I taught them to blow your hospital sky high. And it can't be you. I can sense the demonic chakra, but I've dealt with Jinchuriki before kid, and you stand no chance. Now, I'm going to take this bastard back to IWA and you're not going to stop me or else kiss everyone in this place goodbye, she taunted, holding a hand sign with the kunai hand, though the gain of Deidara not being at knife point was moot when the hand sign made his blood chill. Naruto knew that move. It was one ANBU on the most classified missions used if their teammate was caught and couldn't kill themselves due to being incapacitated, resulting in a very large explosion of flesh. First, the one who volunteered would have a seal drawn on a tiny scroll that would be injected into their bodies, usually the base of the neck. Then, it would be linked to one person, who could set it off. Ultimate trust was needed for the jutsu to work, as both parties had to be willing. As far as Naruto knew, it hadn't been used in Konoha since before Kurama's attack and wouldn't be used again if Dragon had any say in it. At least, that's what the commander claimed when he told Naruto about having to use it during the Third Shinobi War on a comrade who was like a sister to him to prevent Konoha's involvement in some mystery mission. It was the only time the blonde ANBU had heard such palatable guilt in his commander. Where most other emotions would seem muffled, that guilt was suffocating. The jutsu disgusted both Bijou and Jinchuriki. Naruto's eyes flashed red. You monster. Using that on Genin. Kurama's chakra laced his own voice before being reined in. Naruto noticed the hesitation in her eyes as she no doubt struggled with the thought of combusting her students, and Naruto capitalized on it. He used Kawarimi with the foredrip to get right next to the semi-conscious Deidara and swung his blade down at an angle that would take off the Jonin's hands, yet not touch his friend and quasi-roommate. The Jonin shined away, switching places with Naruto, who now had a clone trying to cauterize the other blonde's femoral artery. He spared a quick thanks to his foresight in paying for those medical lessons all those months ago. Tisk, IWA will demand Konoha's blood for this. She spat. Naruto stared impassively. Kurama? Think she'll go through with killing her genin? Naruto thought desperately so he could formulate a plan. I don't know. Her chakra signature is fluctuating between determination and uncertainty. Brat, take her down before we find out. The ANBU agent blinked at the ordered but hardened his eyes. Why do you protect that bastard anyways, huh? He, a brat who had everything after his parents died, betrayed everyone. I was the one to convince the Tsuchikage to let the child become his apprentice, and now my own village thinks I'll go crazy like him. He's a traitor, a freak with that bloodline. Deidara will only stab you in the back if you let him. The Jonin started ranting. Clearly she was not stable and viewed this as a messed up way to regain her honor. Deidara is not an IWA traitor anymore, but a valued Konoha comrade. Naruto shot back. Deidara, who was waking up, widened his eyes along with the woman he now learned had a connection to his family. Fish cake. Leave. She's famous in IWA for being able to subdue both Jinchuriki at once with her underhanded tactics despite being slower and less powerful than most Chunin. That I'm not worth it, not after what I did to my old village. Shut up. Yes you are. Just because you blew up some buildings to mask your escape, buildings I know you made sure would be as empty as possible and didn't agree with the Tsuchikage's policies, doesn't make you worth leaving to die for. You're my friend Deidara. Everyone makes mistakes and you've paid for yours already. Now, shut up and let me handle it. And me, Hikaru's deadly voice spoke from the doorway. Don't forget us. Yugao and Heiate landed on the bed from the ceiling, having heard everything. Naruto didn't know it, but Kurama had sensed all of them but chose to not say anything in favor of watching his friend demonstrate his loyalty. Hey, we want to join the party too. Team Hawk and Beta chirped, surrounding them. And finally us. Thanks for letting me know about the little explosive scrolls, too bad for you I have ways of finding it. Dragon idly drawled with Angel on his shoulder, both looking rather bloody. Dragon wouldn't tell his subordinate this but when his bird informed him of Deidara's predicament, but that mouse was already headed to stop it, he had decided to observe as he was already at the hospital to heal his shoulder. The damn rude agents he took out attempting to snoop for Takashi's location were able to capitalize on his sleep-deprived and distracted state. Thankfully Angel was there as an effective distraction, even if her real mission was to follow the trail and confirm one of Danzo's many bases throughout Konoha. So far, Dragon had mapped out 15 of the rumored 20 and Angel had been instrumental in the last 2, even if she was ticked about keeping it from her partner. Deidara looked wide-eyed at his friends, no, family, he decided, who would willingly stay despite the risk, and blinked away tears. Nobody had ever been so loyal, seeing him either as a maniacal creep for his bloodline, or a tool for their own political purposes. However, here his family was, even knowing what could happen, one slight twitch in her chakra could cause the explosion. Maybe, but you can't disarm it without surgery. Killing me automatically starts the reaction, and killing them now would cause you to go to war. You can't win. Either way, IWA will crush you. No, but this works. Mouse, if you would. Dragon murmured the last bit into his student's ear. Naruto used a shunshin to appear inside the Jonin's defenses, who found herself unable to move from one of the ANBU Nara's shadow possession. She couldn't speak due to a sudden shadow strangle creeping up her neck in a threatening manner. Naruto, before she could blink to process this, knocked her out with a roundhouse kick to the head. Using a kick mid-air after a shunshin took skill, and the blonde was tempted to preen as the woman who threatened his village and friends crumpled to the floor after the Nara let her go. Silence reigned for 3 seconds before Hikaru and the head ANBU medic, a younger ANBU called Deer who took over after his predecessor wanted to retire, started working on closing Deidara's wound completely. And that's why you should never play with your food, children. Do so and you risk not completing your mission. Dragon said sagely. Dragon-sama, you think IWA will confess to this? Naruto asked dubiously. Well, unlike the Hyuga incident, we have live prisoners to question. Time to let a Yamanaka suck them dry and let the council decide what to do. Deer. The commander barked. Hi. Deer chirped while making sure Deidara was all the way healed and handing Hikaru a packet on the additional care needed. Go take care of our exploding genin if you would please. Yes, Commander. And Deer left in a fervor, already using an intercom to gather more surgeons. Everyone stood awkwardly. Well? Quit standing around like academy students. Hawk, take your squad and Viper's squad back to hospital duty. Cat, take your boyfriend with you to watch after those academy brats. We can't let any visitors think children run rampant. Wolf, get Fox back to your apartment and wait to report to me there. He doesn't look injured enough for a hospital bed. Everyone's sweat dropped at Dragon's assumption but complied. And Mouse. Naruto gulped but steeled himself, already imagining having to do his commander's paperwork or make more seals on his day off. Go to room 326 until 5 p.m., Angel will be your apartment. By Naruto. Angel chirped mischievously. Naruto narrowed his eyes but quickly left to fulfill the strange order. 3 minutes later. Naruto opened the door slowly, ignoring Kurama's loud laughter. As soon as the door opened, a to-go bowl of Ichiraku's hit him in the face. There you are, Baka. Now get in here, I've been waiting to eat for like an hour. There, sitting on the bed surrounded by dozens of ramen bowls, was Yakumo Kurama. The heiress looked him in the eye before snickering. Naruto's blush was legendary as he looked the smile the girl gave him, feeling his heart racing at her giggle. Why, Yakumo? What are you doing here? Naruto said after Yakumo got up and dragged the tomato-faced boy to sit in the chair next to her bed. They have me in a bunker with lots of moisture. I got pneumonia but I'm almost better. Yakumo explained while flexing her toothpick arms as proof. Soon I'll be better, and you can help me be a ninja. With your skin? Please, it's so white it would light up the room for enemies. Naruto joked. Yakumo huffed good-naturedly. Well, at least I'm not so short that clients think I'm an academy student. Was her retort, exaggerating the fact she was slightly taller than him now. Why you? One day I'll tower over everyone and then you'll be sorry. Even the Kyuubi? Even him. He jumped up and pumped his fist in the air. Soon conversation devolved into giggling between friends. Naruto sighed, it was indeed a great day off. Hours passed and Yakumo fell asleep, as talking so much still made her tired. Mind telling me how you almost had the hospital blown up? Tenzo spoke from the window suddenly. That made the blonde gulp. Maybe this wasn't quite the perfect day. Naruto leaped from tree to tree, not appreciating the last-minute preparations that fell to him. Why Jiraiya didn't tell him weeks ago that the western forest needed extra traps for their visitors, he would never know, but the Toad Sage had his ire. Waking up before dawn on his supposed day off, before their last checks tomorrow was not the blonde's idea of fun. At least the sunrise was nice. Naruto bounded up the tallest tree in the area, breathing in the fresh morning air. In 2 days it would be coppery, smelling of death, misery, war. The genin on the training grounds, including Sasuke whose yell could be heard as Kakashi-senpai continued to kick him around, were clueless to the battles ahead. That could have been me, Kurama. I could have ended up just like them, naive to what was happening. Naruto mentally mused. He heard a disgruntled snort. Must you be so loud, runt? I was sleeping away Shikaku's stench. Is that really something you can sleep off, though? He cheekily replied. A roar loud enough to jolt him from the branch was his partner's response. Naruto was glad he could still have humor knowing there was a large chance he wouldn't be able to for a long while. Casualties in war were common, after all. ANBU and genin, the top and bottom in ranks, had the highest chance of not making it out of an invasion unscathed. One because their higher skills demanded them face off against a horde of enemies, and the other because they were the weak links to exploit. I promise I'll do what I can to protect you all. The blonde ANBU vowed, gaze steeled on his village. Annoyance at the early morning was gone, replaced by protective instincts. Kurama snorted as his host headed to the headquarters with a plan to make yet another batch of seals. The fox didn't say anything though, as without them, Naruto would be a nervous mess not fitting of a Jinchuriki. Naruto, you've made 15 explosive seals in the last hour for each ANBU agent, please stop. You need rest. Yugao had been called in by Hawk, who was frankly freaked out at the speed and intensity of their Kohai. Normally Dragon or the other members of Ro would deal with it, but their commander had just nodded approvingly at Mouse and Yugao was the only free member of their squad. I'm fine, Yugao-senpai, he protested. No, Naruto, you're not. Otherwise you wouldn't still be here at 10 p.m. when you got here at what time again? Before 6 am, Hawk quipped. Exactly. Now come back for some dinner and sleep or I'll knock you out myself. Yugao warned. Naruto sighed. Fine. It's just. What if we lose? We've had months to prepare and our forests are death traps, how exactly would we lose? This made Naruto just sag further. No, I mean what about our squad? You and Hikaru-senpai have to stay near wherever the Hokage is, Taicho is helping Dragon-sama on the main wall, and that just leaves Deidara and I. What if one of us doesn't make it back? Or the genin, or even Hokage-sama? All valid fears, Yugao realized. Naruto had never lost a squad member, never saw one of his academy peers stare glossy-eyed at the sky. He never had someone close to him fall for the greater good. And that could change so easily in this invasion. Or the war sure to follow. Not to mention Naruto himself had a high probability of death from fighting the Suna Jinchuriki. He may have 15 extra scrolls of water, leading Dragon-sama to cover up why the local hot springs were missing their supply, and chakra chains, but what use were those when a lucky kunai to the heart could end it all? Konoha's Jinchuriki may be an unknown entity, as they liked it, but that didn't make him any less of a target. And he would be fighting the trump card with orders to either capture or eliminate. The Shinobi Council made it clear that if he was able to cripple or kill Gara they'd be very proud, and that failure would be most disappointing for a Jinchuriki. In other words, Naruto had to win. Not only for the village but as a show of loyalty. And with the squad unexpectedly split up, it rested more on his shoulders. They've known this from day one of planning. But now it was here. She expected her Kohai, one she's had the privilege to train and see as family, a nervous mess. And he was. Until the glazed look indicating he was talking to the beast within happened and he laughed. Kurama says to just be glad we get to let loose and go eat ramen. Yugao snorted and pulled out her sword. So you listen to the furball and not your favorite senpai? She unleashed killing intent in teasing. No. Not at all. Gotta scram. Using his chain of shunshin and hint of demonic chakra, he escaped the incoming sword. Left behind was a chuckling purplet and rather confused hawk. Meanwhile, under Konoha. In less than 2 days Konoha will fall, and up will arise a darker one fit to overthrow the nations. A one-eyed warhawk looked over his ranks critically. Many had gone missing or died when 15 bases were struck within a span of 36 hours. Then, they stopped with no indication of the perpetrators except remnants of weapons commonly found everywhere and lightning chakra. If he didn't know better, Danzo would have thought Sarutobi finally grew a spine to eliminate him or that Takashi turned on him. Neither would make sense though, especially as his spies reported ANBU keeping the boy sedated with plans to have Jiraiya crack the seal after the invasion. By then the boy would be back where he belonged. Nevertheless, to make sure there wasn't a different spy, they moved the survivors to the most secure base, one only those involved with the Neo-Uchiha clan knew about and didn't allow anyone to leave. Soon though root would rise with the fall of the diseased leaves. Remember your orders, wait until Konoha forces defeat the invasion, and then anyone who opposes us is to be taken out. While Orochimaru and Sarutobi murder each other, I will personally face the commander if he interferes. On my signal, take the lesser ANBU out in the post-invasion chaos. Once I'm Hokage, we go to war with the lesser villages. For Konoha. Danzo's cane echoed throughout the cavern as hundreds of masked shinobi knelt from the ceiling. A flick of the wrist sent them all away, off to prepare for the spoils of war. All he thought about, however, were targets to take out. Sai, the traitor. Naruto Uzumaki, to be reprogrammed. Dragon, the insufferable nuances. Hiruzen, his oldest friend and biggest regret at failing to assassinate him decades prior. Konoha would be saved, Danzo vowed. Even if he had to burn it to the ground completely and start again. None noticed the crow poofing out of existence, having a location to verify with his master. Day of the invasion, pre-dawn, ANBU HQ, Dragon looked over his men and women, knowing some of the masks he saw would not be with them when the dusk settled. Heck, he might not be here depending on how the destruction of Root went. But that didn't matter. For they were Konoha shinobi, the best of them too. Squads Gamma and Slug were stocked to the max on medical supplies and guerrilla warfare weapons. Deer was on standby for the Hokage's or ANBU's needs, even if Dragon wished it wouldn't be. Hawk and his squad were leading 5 others in the stadium defenses. Multiple battalions would aid the Chunin and Jonin in village protection as well as making sure the forests remained death traps. And then there was Ro. The squad knee-deep in everything this invasion stood for. Tenzu would be with him to slaughter Root, Kakashi joining them. Yugao and Hikaru had their own assignments unique to their skills. Then the 2 newest ANBU and Hellcat with the largest role, stopped the Jinchuriki of Shikaku from unleashing itself on the village. Intel suggested it would try to do so in the forests outside, meaning their youngest Kohai were likely on their own against unknown forces. Dragon was certain they'd succeed. He did train them, after all. This would be Naruto's first assignment that Dragon didn't have a summons following, but Deidara and Angel should prove to be adequate backup. If not, he'd eat his mask. Our objective is simple, ensuring the Oto-Suna alliance fails. But, just as important, come back alive. Dragon paused to let that weight settle. If I find out you laid down your life and there were any other options available to accomplish our objective, I will resurrect you myself and use your ghost as a training partner for a decade. This is not a battle for glory, but a tragic event to show what happens when you mess with Konoha. It's not about your honor, it's about keeping the village safe. Is that clear? Yes, Dragon-sama. Rang out in HQ. Ever since Dragon came into power, ANBU became a well-oiled machine with fewer casualties. But war made the younger shinobi do stupid things that led to unnecessary death. Dying to save your comrade from certain death was one thing. Dying because you rushed in like a rookie drunk on bloodlust was another. Dragon had seen too many shinobi die to stupidity during the Third Great Shinobi War. He refused to let his men join those ranks. A comfortable silence latched onto the room until the commander snapped. What are you waiting for, an invitation? Go, before I use your lazy asses as a shield. Seconds later the room was empty save Tenzu, who just gave a respectful nod. It was time to bath the great tree in blood once again. With Naruto and Deidara. Two masks, a fox and a mouse, hung upside down from the stadium's guard tower ceiling completely concealed, a shinobi cat joining them along with dozens of summons. Deidara was stewing, waiting with clay bombs to make art out of Konoha's invaders. He knew this was a sort of test, a final show to see if he was loyal when push came to shove. The older blonde swore to not disappoint the Hokage or commander. Naruto was planning with Kurama. Neither would accept a loss, though only one wanted to kill the host. The other sat in conflict, hoping it wouldn't come to that. If he could take the other Jinchuriki out quickly, he could focus on what he really wanted to do, protect his home at the front lines. Both ANBU, regardless of their thoughts, gazed at their target, the trump card of the enemy, Gara no Sabaku. Fellow Jinchuriki and known psychopath. Currently standing in the sun listening to a carefully neutral Hay-8 give instructions for the upcoming battles. The first rounds will be 10-minute matchups in the following order. First match, Hinata Hyuga v Sakura Haruno. Second match, Kiba Inazuka v Rock Lee. Third match, Kankuro no Sabaku v Shino Aburame. Fourth match, Tenten v Tamari no Sabaku. Fifth match, Niji Hyuga v Sai. Sixth match, Gara no Sabaku v Sasuke Uchiha. If I say stop, you stop, or I'll make you. Hay-8 coughed. Now, will everyone but Hinata Hyuga and Sakura Haruno leave for the contestant box? Naruto tuned the rest of the explanations out in favor of glancing over to the forest a ways behind them knowingly. A certain pair of chakra signatures flitted in and out of his range. One of which he knew all too well, like an old pain that never quite leaves. Things just got more interesting, the blonde mused with dread. For waiting like a mocking predator was none other than the crystal user that destroyed him and his summons all those months before. Looks like he was getting a rematch sooner than he thought. Hinata gave her best glare at her opponent. In all reality, though, it came out to a mildly annoyed expression. Better than her academy days, at least. The Hyuga heiress curled her toes in to mentally ground herself, something her kind cousin Hikaru suggested. The usually verbose and excitable man instead gave her a gentle head pat that morning and ordered her to try her best but not use all her energy like a true shinobi. In other words, this fight was not going to be her last. When Hinata had moved to question him, Hikaru had just winked at her with a shushing gesture and used a shunshin. Guilt eating at her for knowing her cousin had given her some kind of hint, Hinata barely heard the proctor yell, "Start." Sakura, apparently, had no such problems. The girl with the pink bob flew towards Hinata and knocked the girl back with a quick punch to the nose. Hinata winced, but activated her Byakugan. She had 10 minutes to either surrender or make Sakura do so. Easy, right? When a senbon tried to graze her cheek, poison evident on the blade, Hinata decided that perhaps she wasn't quite ready. Nevertheless, she had to prove she was not a failure. With steely eyes the shy Hyuga leapt towards the budding medical prodigy, gentle fist strikes aimed at vital spots. Sakura tried to keep the fury out of her eyes when Hinata hadn't reacted to the proctor giving them the heads up to fight. Sure, Sakura knew she wasn't as prestigious as the clan genin, but she at least deserved an attentive opponent. Socking the girl in the jaw moments later was just what she needed, even with the booing from the crowd asking for a shinobi fight. What, did they think all shinobi fought with jutsu? Rolling her eyes, Sakura threw a paralyzing senbon towards Hinata, who finally looked halfway prepared, hoping for a quick win. But, the girl dodged, and flew at Sakura in a frenzy of jabs. If it weren't for Hikaru-sensei's training, Sakura was sure she'd be dead by now. Dodging the blows, Sakura parried with kunai and senbon, aiming for spots that allowed her poison in, yet failing to make contact. Finally deciding something had to give, Sakura stopped moving. Hinata's eyes widened as her palm successfully struck the taller girl's shoulder. Balance was off though as the girl ever so slightly leaned further in, trying to catch her balance. And that's when Sakura struck. With a vicious smirk, Sakura used her good hand and grabbed Hinata's neck, a senbon embedding itself in the flesh. A fast-acting sedative. Had the Hyuga heiress out in seconds. The stadium cheered, entranced by the fast taijutsu and odd finale. Sakura just healed her shoulder and gave the antidote to her comrade. They were from the same village, after all. Up in the stands, Hisashi Hyuga. Hisashi kept the sigh of relief off of his face, glad that both children would be out of harm's way come the invasion. Hanabi had been ordered to stay in the compound last minute due to a made-up offense. The Hokage wouldn't let them tell the child and break the secret after all, and he ordered Hikaru to make sure his daughter didn't exhaust or overtly injure herself. While the teen was an utter disgrace to the Hyuga name, he followed orders. And because of that, Hinata would be safe in the shelters. Even after being treated, Hinata would be escorted to the shelters before any fighting happened. While other genin would be forced to fight or make their way to safety, his child wouldn't. Now he would just have to act like he was pissed at her. An utter disgrace, that worm, an elder scoffed. Yes, certainly, Hisashi replied, mentally assigning the disgrace title to the elder, not his daughter. He was disappointed in Hinata, true, but in this instance, he couldn't be prouder. Later, with Naruto. Naruto had felt a strange pride seeing his former and rather weak crush win the match. The matches that followed were less than impressive. While Kiba tried his best and Kankuro was a brilliant puppeteer, their opponents, Lee and Shino respectively, were ruthless. Having sparred with Lee many times, Naruto knew the boy was just showing that he valued his opponent. Doing the primary lotus and then punting Kiba into the far wall before the first minute ended was not something most would see as friendly, but Lee saw it as him acknowledging Kiba as an equal. Hopefully Kiba saw it that way when he woke up in a week. Shino, as opposed to Kiba, knew about the invasion. Not that anyone told him, but the boy had a habit of knowing things he shouldn't because of his bugs. Naruto saw that familiar gleam in Shino's eyes. Or, well, glasses. As the proctor called start. Kankuro tried his best to forfeit. He really did, raising his hand as soon as the match started and opening his mouth. But as Shino seemed to know the boy was a future enemy, he was shown no mercy. It took Hay-8 threatening Shino to get the bugs off of Kankuro's unconscious body, completely drained of usable chakra and his puppets eaten. Naruto swore he witnessed Shino smirking on his way back up the steps. Temari, it seemed, had the advantage in the next fight. Ten, while talented, was forced to use unorthodox attacks and jutsu when Temari kept blowing hers away. In the end, the 10-minute timer rang as both girls wasted time on taunting, marking a bitter end. Through it all, Temari just kept smirking, much to Daidara's and his chagrin. With Sai kept his face impassive as he raised his voice. I would like to withdraw. Please. he said with a monotone voice. Hayate blinked, as did his opponent, the genius Niji Hyuga. Sai knew he could beat the older boy, but that was no consequence. He had a job to do, after all. Even showing up here was a waste of time, but the Hokage insisted. Are you sure? Hayate asked, more out of propriety than necessity. Sai just nodded and walked off the stage. Niji started protesting, calling him a failure. That was fine. He had a real mission to accomplish. Sai, you ready? An ANBU murmured from behind his mask in the ceiling when he was out of sight. Not slowing down, he cheerfully replied. Of course, sir. Dragon-sama can rest easy. Chittering in the hallway were countless ink animals, ready to strike out Konoha's foes. Good, remain in position. With that, the ANBU's voice was gone, leaving Sai to conceal his art and himself in the shadows, waiting. Back in the stadium, the final match of the first round. This was it, Sasuke mused. This was where he'd make his mark, prove he could be a Chunin, be worthy of his clan name. When the proctor called, "Start," Sasuke was already throwing explosive notes at the sand arm coming his way, fully prepared to win. His Sharingan spun wildly in afternoon sun, tracking each movement. While it was the first round, and Sasuke had never, technically, fought his opponent, Kakashi-sensei had described what the redhead could do. Sand armor, ability to move over a ton of the stuff at will, and an unquenchable lust for spilling blood. Sasuke ran through hand signs, hoping this move would work. Lighting style, electromagnetic murder. Grasping onto a sand limb, the flowing electricity dented the mass, making the Uchiha smirk, thinking he made some progress, letting a round of phoenix fire bombard the main body of the sand armor. That smirk vanished when the fire caused no damage, and Sasuke had to do 5 backflips to avoid being crushed. The crowd loved it when his arm got caught, ripping it out before Gara crushed it. Blood dripped down the Uchiha's arm. Yes, mother, I'll give you blood. Blood. The psycho was muttering to himself. Sasuke just heated up the wave of sand trying to overcome him with a fireball. As the wave started turning to bits of glass, Sasuke smirked, the audience roared in approval. I don't know who your mother is, but giving her blood sounds like a stupid gift, Sasuke drawled, channeling his inner Kakashi. The man knew how to push buttons. You dare insult mother. I'll kill you. Feed you to mother. An inhuman growl erupted from Gara, and before Sasuke's eyes the boy started transforming. What are you? He gasped, Sharingan mapping the volatile chakra unraveling from the torso. The sand started taking on a humanoid face. Chuckling darkly, Gara's raccoon eyes bore into Sasuke's. I'm a demon. Gara replied bluntly. He raised his arm. Now, explosions resounded across the stadium, stopping Gara in his tracks. Seconds later a blanket of smoke covered the stands, hordes of Konoha shinobi leaping out. Gara moved to attack once more, but his sensei, Baki, Sasuke's mind supplied from Kakashi's briefs over various famous shinobi, appeared, along with Temari. Gara, stop. Transform in the spot, the man seemed to say, but Sasuke's ears were still ringing so he wasn't sure. You do it here and the Konoha scum will stop you, not to mention you'll kill our men. Temari, let's go. With that, the trio vanished in a swirl of sand, leaving Sasuke dumbfounded. What? How? Invasion, kid, everyone but Konoha is the enemy and we have to stop them. The proctor drawled, killing 2 Suna, weren't they Konoha allies, Chunin? You learn genin protocols for invasions in the academy, right? Sasuke nodded while his brain clicked into place. Yeah, go do that. Your squad mate is up in the box, go to her and the rest of the genin. Wanting to stay but biting back his insistence when a splatter of blood courtesy of a beheaded Oto shinobi, they were in on it too? Landed near his now deactivated eyes, Sasuke nodded and bolted off to find Sakura and Sai. They had civilians to lead from the stadiums to the bunkers. It all clicked while he dodged flying kunai, seeing Sakura punt Asuna Shinobi to the sun. This was planned. The drills they had last month, the extra training, the harsher Chunin exams, according to gossiping guards, not to mention that kidnapping attempt, the invasion was known. With Naruto, right before the invasion kicked off. When that vile chakra, so familiar yet foreign, pulsated out of his fellow Jinchuriki, Naruto clutched his head. Kurama was not happy. Let me kill him. That insufferable worm, he dare mock me with that puny display of Bija chakra? Shush. We have to be ready. I don't know if he'll go ahead and transform here or attempt to flee. Either way we have to get him out of the village, something I can't do if you're screaming at me. That shut his partner up. Angel tensed beside him when Naruto looked down once his head stopped exploding. She could feel it, like everyone else. His summons too, especially Akira and Hibiki. Any time now would be the signal, whatever it was. The inhuman laughter from Gara sent chills down Naruto's spine, and he signaled for Deidara to be ready for intervention in case Orochimaru decided to let the other boy transform during the match. That's when low-grade explosive bombs filled the stands, and screams erupted from civilians. Konoha let loose her own explosives, and instantly the fighting began. Opening his palm, Naruto held it out so all the summons. With a quick flash his open palm was a closed fist, and with it every one of his 30 summoned felines had disappeared. They had their own prey to handle. Meanwhile, Naruto turned to Deidara, who nodded once, summoning a giant clay bird. With practiced ease the two leapt onto its back, gone after their prey before anyone was the wiser. With the special route takedown. Team. Dragon glided through the underground tunnels, feet barely touching the floor in his haste. Tonto out, the ANBU commander sliced through traps and guards alike. Stop, Gak. One such guard fell down lifelessly, missing his head. Dragon idly noticed it was someone from his generation who went missing a decade before. Not stopping, yet absorbing everything with his Sharingan, Dragon flicked his blade rid of the blood in time to cleaver through a wire trap. Behind him, Kakashi and Tenzu dodged debris while mentally preparing themselves. It was during this time the copy ninja let his thoughts drift to his younger boss. Normally, Shursui Uchiha would have been using the Shunshin and quipping about the weak fools trying to stop the almighty Dragon the Great while being serious in the mission. Normally, he would have said or did something to alleviate the tension that came with this mission, but today wasn't normal. Today, they were killing fellow Konoha shinobi, cleansing the rot that infected their home. Above them enemies were falling like flies, their blood soaking the ground crimson and copper. In here, Shursui had already slain 14 guards with nary a twitch, headed for the den of vipers Danzo kept. Today was not normal, and Shursui Uchiha, no, Dragon, was not one to be messed with. Kakashi Hatake, renowned for his loyalty, knew he had nothing on his boss and friend, the man who gave up everything. So when one root agent attempted to drop from the floor while Shursui was blowing up a door, Kakashi silently broke their neck, not even bothering with his ice smile or lazy quips. For today was not normal in Konoha. Within minutes they came to a trap door, one meant to lead down to the main chambers Danzo lived in for the Neo Uchiha children to have easy access. Only those with Uchiha blood could access it, making it perfectly safe for the old Warhawk seeing as he owned the Uchiha. Or so he thought. Wordlessly the commander summoned his bird, letting it fly to Tenzu's shoulder. We're here. Follow the plan, Dragon signed. Twin nods and drawn kunai were all the confirmation he needed before jumping down. Kakashi glanced at his partner and their guide. The bird tilted its head before soundlessly flying down a corridor, beckoning the Jonin to follow. He did. Danzo's chambers. Old, decrepit features stared at paperwork, not really reading. Today his plans were coming to fruition. Konoha was burning while destroying her enemies, and his shinobi were ready to mobilize. The Neo-Uchiha brats were safely being held in their quarters, out of the way until he required it. It was quiet, just as Danzo liked it. While normally he'd have 15 shinobi guarding his office, today he had 5, content that life, for once, was looking up. A knock at his door, one that he would describe as frantic if he had not beaten such emotions out of his shinobi, alerted him to his guard, not that he needed one, of course. A mousy black-haired youth, barely 22, came in with a low bow. "Speak," he ordered, not liking that he was interrupted. "Danzo-sama, we have the sentence was cut off by blood pouring zig-zagged across the boy's chest. 5 lumps fell from the ceiling with dull thuds, without blood or screams to accompany the deaths. They just fell. Within half a second Danzo had his Sharingan and Mokuton activated with branches reaching wildly. TSK, Danzo-chan, wouldn't want to use up your chakra, nay?" A demonic voice chuckled darkly. Danzo, already out of his robe, ripped the binding over his eye for clearer scans. If he had emotions, he'd be panicking from the lack of presence or chakra. "I see you broke through my security seals, impressive considering I only have one entrance, and have yet to sense them being broken down." Danzo slightly complimented, hoping for the intruder to respond. Sure enough, it did, making the Warhawk's blood run cold. "You happen to have 2 entrances, old coot. One of his masterpieces had betrayed him them." No, that was impossible. Only those with Uchiha blood could bypass the seals that would kill anyone else. Itachi Uchiha. I see. Realization dawned. Of course his pawn finally turned on him. No matter, Danzo was sure he could overcome him. "Not quite, old man," was the last thing Danzo heard before a blur even to his Sharingan just appeared in front of his face. "This doesn't belong to you." A growl from the blur before it plucked the eye out and just appeared by the door. The casualness of the move, so much like how he himself acquired the eye. Clutching the throbbing abyss that was his socket, Danzo squinted, watching as the blur became his most hated foe in Hiruzen's faithful ranks of lapdogs. No. It can't be. Dragon? Shock was what Danzo was feeling, seeing the man plop his weapon against Hiruzen's policies into a jar and banish it away somewhere. The commander gave nothing away but held up a thumbs up and flashed a familiar red eye from one of his black sockets before letting it disappear. Thoughts, wondering who the dragon could possibly be, flooded the Warhawk, who racked his brain over the Uchiha family. It couldn't be any of the younger teens in the Uchiha clan, as he killed them himself. Nor could it have been the elders or normal Chunin, those were too weak to pull of the commander position. That left one option, dragging Danzo into a fighting position. "I should have known Itachi couldn't be trusted to kill you, Fugaku Uchiha. That fool of a Hokage has let you live, I will rectify that mistake now." Dragon only let out a tired sigh in response. "And here I thought you were smarter than that. Well, perhaps me kicking your ass around will jog your intelligence." Shursui did well to keep the snigger in as Danzo hurtled a wind-style vacuum blade at him through a kunai. So easy for Shursui to dodge, and he did so, appearing in the hallway. Shursui went through hand signs, his back towards his foe. Already preparing another attack. Fire style, Great Fire Dragon shot past him, aiming for the traitor and thief. However, trees erupted in front of the man, who smirked at his accomplishment. "You may be strong, Fugaku, but the Uchiha never could defeat the Senju. Hashirama-sama may have been a peace-loving fool, but his power lives on to be properly used for the great tree. You call that Mokuton? Man, and I thought you were desperate using Tenzu. Even he has more control over his jutsu than you." Shursui sneered. He kept the disgust as a mask, already knowing exactly what Danzo did from his summons. "And those Sharingan. I'll have you know that eyes are supposed to go in the head, not the arm." Seems somebody doesn't know basic anatomy. Shut up, you whelp. You were never this annoying before. Itachi was supposed to kill you, the mask has made you cocky. Danzo growled. Shisui smirked inwardly, finding it amusing that the truth was there for Danzo, but the man couldn't work it out. Shisui knew he was stalling. Kakashi and Tiger were taking care of the rest of the base, with him cleaning up this side of the buildings. Afterwards, they were to evacuate, as this fight was bound to get messy. Thankfully, Danzo's last stronghold was near the outer wall, far away from most civilians. It made it to where Shisui could have some fun in this job. Before he got his eye back was that really less than 3 minutes ago his mind had been a raging storm. He has stormed the building, silently killing all who opposed him. But now he had the chance to make the man suffer. Danzo noticed his silence and scoffed. Instead of trying to talk more, Shisui used several shunshins to get above the tree, chest swelling with chakra. A roaring fireball hit Danzo head-on. The man's chakra burst forth in an attempt to get away. Well, that was anticlimactic, Shisui mused, briefly wondering if he should have killed the man weeks ago. Only shinobi instincts save him from being impaled by a wooden spike bursting from the ground. Danzo emerged with it, slightly panting, but alive. The only difference was one of the 11 Sharingan closing. 10 more glared at him. I see. So you mastered Izanagi, huh? Honestly, Shisui was surprised, as not even Fugaku-sama had bothered to learn the technique, knowing that it would take an eye away. To most Uchiha, their eyes were everything, worth their death to protect. Yes, a useful technique, one I plan on using to kill you. The man prepared a wind-style vacuum blade, threw 15 kunai, lobbying them straight at Shisui. In turn, the Uchiha-turned-commander activated his Sharingan once more and caught each spinning blade. Quickly throwing them back, Shisui followed and got into Danzo's defenses. The pair engaged in a taijutsu dance, a flurry of kicks and strikes made possible through Sharingan and experiences bought with blood. Shisui dodged a fist full of wind chakra, then did a hand spring back as wooden branches shot from Danzo's arm. Thankfully, Shisui had seen this move before from his numerous spars with Tenzu. Wind style, vacuum wave. Danzo released. It was one of his most powerful attacks, known to take out opponents in waves. Shisui quickly used the move he made his Jinchuriki agent learn, one most overlooked. Hiding like a mole, letting the user dive into the ground, was not what Shisui would call a flashy jutsu, hence why most shinobi never bothered to learn it. However, the low-ranked jutsu saved his life, letting the Uchiha weather out the storm. Landing silently, Shisui glanced around, noticing Danzo was breathing hard. Is that all you got? He mocked. The great Danzo-sama, brought down with your own jutsu? Fireball met wind shields, Danzo's chakra compensating for the lack of natural air. The two forces condensed, blowing both parties back with a large boom. Shisui blinked his eye, grateful for the breathing mask as the air filled with debris and sunshine flooded in. Danzo wasted no time, weaving hands together amongst the broken grounds. Wood-style, underground roots. His ancient voice growled, the ground erupting as waves of roots that existed before the village rose up, snaking violently to his will. Before the Warhawk could attack, however, Kakashi and Tenzu appeared slightly behind Shisui, unconscious children in their arms. Root Shinobi, the last of the forces, no doubt ran from the rubble. With a flick of his wrist they fell, marking the end of Danzo's little army. Well, I guess it's time to get serious. Finally, Tiger, I thought I taught my men better than to take long eradicating an enemy base. I ended up having to blow it up myself. Shisui said seriously, before cracking his neck and staring Danzo down. Absently he noticed 2 more eyes were closed. Susanoo. The ANBU commander whispered, his dear friend rising up around him and the last of his clan. Danzo's face twisted into horror, a beautiful look to match the screams of Suna and Oto Shinobi nearby. No. It can't be, it can, though. I never left a body, after all. Shursui chided. Shursui Uchiha. With Naruto. Getting out of the village had been difficult emotionally for the blonde ANBU agents, as seeing their home being attacked by enemy shinobi and snake summons pulled at their sense of loyalty. Even knowing that his comrades and summons were protecting in his stead couldn't keep the guilt out of Naruto's heart. Flying over the forest, Naruto kept his mind clear of thoughts about the village, letting Kurama guide them. The 2 chakra signatures he dreaded, however, were following just below. Mouse. Deidara grunted. He noticed them too. They were headed to a 5-6 including the Bijou on 2 fight, with no available backup. Sending bombs down there would be a mistake, as the forest could go up with it, potentially letting the Jinchuriki get far enough away to unleash the monster. The small explosions the pursuing duo let off accidentally while running was already proving disastrous. That couldn't happen. They could lure all their opponents into the same area, which was what they were trying to do now, but it was risky at best. Oto forces could arrive soon to back up their pursuers. I know, Fox. You keep the Jinchuriki from letting the demon out. I'll handle the Guren woman and her partner. Deidara whipped his head back, shock evident even through the porcelain mask. No. Are you crazy, HN? You almost died last time on Dragon-sama will kill me if you die, not to mention Roach Team. I'll be fine, I don't even plan on fighting them, just setting off a ring of blasts to contain and then I'll head towards your art. Guren may be able to survive my traps, but Jiraiya-sama gave me some special seals that should stop them from continuing on. Naruto kept that the barrier seals were supposed to contain the Bijou for resealing if all else failed to himself. Deidara seemed conflicted. I can sense some other shinobi following us further back and Gara's demonic chakra is billowing out as we speak. I'll make this a fair fight for us, until then take this. Naruto thrust 2 of his 7 main water scrolls, enough to keep the Bijou-infused sand from overtaking them. Really, Deidara just had to last 3 minutes alone before he arrived with chakra chains. HN, don't become art, senpai. Was all Deidara said. In his own way he didn't want Naruto blown up. In reply Naruto snorted. I helped trap this forest. I'll see you soon, and watch out for Baki. And with that, Naruto Uzumaki leapt off the clay summons, chains rattling in the wind behind them. Really, 2 ANBU were too much for taking down a Jinchuriki when one could explode it and the other could trap it, right? That's what Naruto assured himself with as he landed on a branch inches from a chain reaction seal, staring at the 2 followers that made even Kurama seem wary. Be careful. Kill them quickly and get back to Shikaku. I want to rip him apart. Kurama roared, letting 2 tails instantly form, malevolent chakra fill the air. The tags required his specific Bijou chakra to activate. Now he just had to get the tagged kunai at 5 separate points before setting them off. Little fox, I've been waiting for you. To think, instead of making me wait for Gara to tire you out, you came right to me. Guren licked her lips. Her companion, a white-haired man with a sickly complexion and red dots above the eyes, stared balefully at him. It was like Naruto was an objective, not an opponent. Guren, the man whispered, do not insult Orochimaru-sama by taking this like a game. Knock him out and let's go. Guren gulped in fear. Interesting, she's afraid of him. He is a Kaguya, stay away from him, Naruto. Kurama warned. Naruto blinked, ready to question his friend, when he had to dodge something shooting from the man's fingers, eyes widening when the spikes hit the chain reaction, setting it off. This is going to suck, he grumbled. Dodging a set of crystals, the ANBU agent started wondering if perhaps he was too hasty in splitting up, already looking for points to fixate the kunai to and just wanting this whole invasion thing over with. As he prepared to unleash his chakra, the unholy scream of shikaku stopped everyone in their tracks. The bijou had risen. And he had foolishly left his friend to face it alone. With Jiraiya. Jiraiya, despite what the kunoichi population and his godson would say, did not only think about perverse pleasures. In actuality, his mind was a torrent of past regrets, mistakes, and heartbreaks crashing into one another so that only alcohol or writing could stop them. His past always haunted him and his decisions never left him satisfied. Today was the worst. Worse than the day he left the orphans in AIM, worse than the day Orochimaru left and Tsunade turned him down, worse than the day Minato died and he declined his duty to look over his precious godson. None of those days compared to how unsatisfied he felt with himself as Gamabunta stabbed Manda's second-in-command straight through the eye, dispelling the vile creature instantly. It wasn't satisfying, however, because he wasn't there. He wasn't next to his sensei like planned, leaving his father figure to face the deranged psychopath known as Orochimaru with little backup. Could any backup compare to a Sannin? He wasn't helping Naruto seal the shikaku like he secretly petitioned for months, being turned down at every corner. That inability led to him accidentally forgetting to set more traps in the forests, having Naruto do it the day before the invasion so that the boy would know every inch of where he would be fighting. Not being near his two most precious people in the village was difficult, but Jiraiya continued to smile. The Chunin at the walls behind him gasped in awe as he used his needle hair to take down a young jonin, and cheered as Gamabunta dispelled yet another summons, though this one was a nasty three-headed viper intent on eating through the shinobi population it was ordered to attack. While they cheered, Jiraiya would look back and give a reassuring smile or commanding order, knowing that the quicker he destroyed the main front, the sooner he'd be next to Sarutobi-sensei or Naruto, keeping them from becoming yet another ghost in his mind. Remember, no prisoners. The Toad Sage bellowed once more as the survivors from their trapped forests and preliminary takedowns attempted to bypass Konoha's gates. Jiraiya nodded down towards Ibiki, who smirked viciously. You heard him, let's show these maggots why Konoha is still undefeated. The scarred interrogator ordered, helping take out the trash and erecting the shock tags on a hole Gamabunta accidentally caused. The 5 Oto shinobi who tried getting through there found themselves shocked to death, their screams shrill yet musical to Ibiki's ears. Yes, Jiraiya decided, he would. Show these maggots the power of a Sannin, forcing himself to ignore the large purple enclosure at the stadium and the bijou chakra suffocating the air. With the Hokage. Sarutobi stared at his former student, sadness and fury evident in his eyes. The ANBU by his side were poised to fight to the death, their loyalty strengthened him. My old student. How far have you fallen? He murmured in sorrow, the flakes of skin peeling off Orochimaru's face, set in a smirk. Why, whatever do you mean, sensei? I thought you'd be proud, seeing your favorite student achieve so much. If you can call looking like a doll and growing your tongue achieving so much, then sure. One of the ANBU, Hikaru if he wasn't mistaken, quipped. Despite himself, Sarutobi snorted in amusement. As his former pride and joy hissed, Sarutobi prepared his best jutsus. It was time to fix his past mistakes. With sure sway. Dragon couldn't help but wonder if just recording Danzo's face at the moment he realized just who that blasted dragon was all this time would be enough. That's impossible. You died if not from my poison then by killing yourself in the Naka River. My agents were placed under my genjutsu, much like the eye I gave Itachi. Dragon cut in with a drawl. Really, Danzo-chan, did you actually think I'd kill myself over a lost eye, leaving you free rein with said eye and no way to tell the Hokage what actually happened? I'll admit it almost killed me, but in the end you failed. Like always. Danzo seemed to twist in rage before calming once more. The man, now at 8, no 7, eyes, held up his hands, going through hand seals. If only Fugaku had let me draft you into Root when you were 5, instead of insisting the Uchiha were above such things, you'd have made a fine shinobi for the great tree. Danzo seemed almost regretful at this admission. Nevertheless, it's time I destroy the last rebellious seeds in your cursed clan and make Konoha great again. You and what army, Danzo? Shisui mocked, his Susanoo already drawing its energy for an attack. The war hawk sent out his roots, still writhing. Shisui directed his Susanoo, which sliced through them with ease, taking a swing at Danzo, who used another eye to get away. I have no need for an army to cleanse this village of you. Wind style, vacuum spheres. The wind itself compressed before attacking in a sphere-like pattern. The Susanoo was protecting them, but the sheer amount of chakra was hell on the Sharingan. Shisui silently willed his Susanoo to unleash its Tsukumo. It was his most powerful attack with the chakra construct, the same attack that he used all those months ago on the Iwa Jinchuriki. The long green poles bore into the war hawk, who blocked most of them by large mokuton trees to spontaneously rise. Shisui smirked as another eye closed after his attack managed to hit, knowing that he was winning. Kakashi, Tiger. Take the children to the drop-off point and go help the Hokage. Shisui ordered. He glanced back, seeing them nod. Good luck, Dragon-sama. The pair intoned, disappearing in quick flicks. Sending your dogs away wasn't wise, Shisui, Danzo said neutrally while still sounding mocking. Shisui released his Susanoo, and shot forward, his tanto meeting Danzo's own sword. Metal met metal, Uchiha anger and determination boring down upon a traitor's misguided notion of the greater good. A young man too loyal to be swayed by power fighting against an old war hawk too engulfed in his desires to seek repentance. Shisui channeled his chakra into his lungs without seals, expelling a great torrent of flames point-blank into his opponent's widening eyes. Using the man's own sword as a launching point, the Uchiha pushed off and used a shunshin, letting his chakra flicker out. The flames died quickly once the chakra was cut off, and Shisui once more maneuvered into Danzo's guard, slicing off his mokuton arm. Another several shunshins and abrasions across the war hawk's body. Danzo let out a quick, pained gasp, and looked up, grimacing when he noticed that the infamous Mirage clones were flickering about, a testament to Shisui's immense skills. Trying for one last move as his arm with the Sharingans was burned to a crisp and thrown far out of his grasp, Danzo made a single-hand seal and let himself smirk when Shisui was stopped in his tracks, black ink appearing on his mask and exposed skin from various wounds during the battle. You may be strong, Shisui Uchiha. But you can't fight the self-cursing seal. You Uchiha are excellent shinobi, but your chakra levels are easily depleted by your dojutsu, there's no way you'll muster up the chakra to break my seal in time. Danzo painted, slightly light-headed from blood loss. Forcing himself to stand up straight, the older male stalked to the struggling Shisui who was kneeling, trying to get up. Danzo picked up his sword that had fallen and got closer. For the good of Konoha, you must wither. He gasped. Raising his blade, Danzo looked right into the blank mask that haunted him for the last 5 years. Shisui struggled more, then calmed as the blade rose. Taking a deep breath in, he snapped his chakra, it expanding through the air in compressed waves. Potent chakra, almost visible, exploded out and pushed Danzo back. With shaky limbs, Shisui stood up. No, for the good of Konoha, you must be the one to die. The commander's voice whispered, lifting up his own sword. Then for the first time since his sacrifice, Shisui Uchiha lifted his mask while out in the field, looking his old enemy in the eye. Danzo's eyes widened once more before Shisui used his signature shunshin, appearing over the now fallen man. A quick jab to the throat and Konoha's worst traitor was dead. Now he just had to get to the Hokage and his men. With Naruto. Naruto stumbled slightly at the roar of shikaku, giving the Kagaya time to get into his defenses, bones protruding from his ribs. That's what a Kagaya can do, slaughter you with their bones, extremely bloodthirsty. Kurama chimed in as Naruto felt his arm guard sliced in half by the Kagaya's bone sword, blood splattering them both. Clones appeared as a buffer between them, only to be instantly taken out by Guren's crystals. How do I stop them, though? The ANBU thought to his partner in exasperation while frantically looking for places to set his barrier tags and letting the third tail grow. He just wanted to block these two and get on with his mission and stop this invasion, damn it. Kurama didn't reply, instead enhancing his host's senses more to prevent an impaling through his stomach. Naruto summoned his chains once more, letting them join his tails in blocking the crystals and bones. It would be in your best interests to surrender. Orochimaru-sama always gets what he desires, and your pointless struggling is most selfish. Give up. Crystals covered the trees and debris around, creating a sort of dome, encasing him and his assailants. You know, Kimimaro, for a guy wanting to catch the little fox, you're sure enjoying talking to him. Guren said suggestively, appearing out of a crystal. Silence, Guren, did you disable the traps? The now identified Kimimaro rebuked. Guren smirked as Naruto stiffened. All done and were shielded from the little Tanuki's temper tantrum. Kimimaro didn't answer and instead vaulted forward with his bones melding together into a drill, its path halted by Naruto instinctively using his chains. Dull eyes met fiery red ones, slitted like a fox. Naruto's mask was tinted red by the visible chakra, giving his mouse mask a vicious makeover. Naruto, his kunai bathed in wind and Kyubi chakra, embedded it until the hilt in Kimimaro's free arm, his hidden smirk at its success cut off when Guren mercilessly side-swiped his legs before kicking him into a tree. Naruto grunted, and blocked Guren's crystal needles, though one struck his mask, cracking it. The ANBU pulled it out, somersaulting to the ground in crouch. Maybe you think you got rid of the traps, but a Konoha ANBU agent always sets contingencies. He yelled out Dragon-sama's teachings. Little did his attackers know, but Naruto had used his abilities with clones and transformations wisely. Deidara had spent countless hours teaching him the exploding clone technique. Naruto wrapped himself in chakra and his chains, smirking. When he felt his enemies get close, the random rocks, flies in the air, all of them transformed into Naruto clones and exploded in sharp bursts of chakra. Kimimaro, who had been hoping to attack from above, instantly switched with the fleeing Guren, the woman being blown into the roof of her mini-dome. Naruto wasted no time, conjuring 4 clones and sending them off to the designated spots to place the barrier tags. Kurama, I think we'll need more chakra. I can see the Bijou chakra eating away at the crystals and bone, but it's not enough. Naruto growled, the chakra clouding his calm state of mind somewhat. Kurama wordlessly released the 4th tail, their current top. Naruto, through training, was able to keep his mind in the 4th tail, but barely. The chakra began eating away at his skin, and he knew he had to end this fast. Wind style, air bullets. The cubified Naruto growled in misshapen bursts of air not at Kimimaro or the now falling and barely conscious Guren, but at the side wall. It cracked under the assault. Naruto instantly formed a dark purple Rasengan. Leaping at the wall, Rasengan in one hand and tag in the other, Naruto broke through, Kimimaro following suit. However, this Kimimaro was beastly. The infamous curse seal was unlocked on him. Naruto's eyes widened, but refused to panic. He turned around, facing Kimimaro as they fled through the opening. His clones had burst, letting him know the 4 tags were in place, only the one in his hand was needed. Naruto felt his bloodlust rising, so instinct he let chakra build in his lungs and mouth. A sphere of the tainted chakra charged forward and into Kimimaro's torso, kicking the now mutated shinobi back through the hole, into the forest floor, and skidding long after Naruto lost sight of him. Blinking, the blonde tried to ponder what he just did, even as his throat bled from the chakra. I'll explain later, but now you have to block them in. Shikaku has been unleashed. Sure enough, the sand demon was a bit to the west of him, and Naruto could feel its beady eyes on him, Deidara furiously dodging the sand tail. Retreating all but a tail of chakra into his body was near impossible, but with Kurama being his partner they managed, and the Jinchuriki landed next to the opening, slapping the final tag down and pulsating large puddles of his Bijou chakra through it. A pentagram formed through the crystal dome, before a large red barrier was erected. If Naruto did it right, and he knew he did, the two inside would be unable to leave until the chakra drained in an hour or they overpowered it. And overpowering it would be nigh impossible. There, now. Ready to kick some Shikaku ass? Naruto smirked evilly, and set off through the trees, chains poised. Heh, finally my puny brother will see why he shouldn't mess with my territory. Kurama laughed. That gave Naruto a sweat drop while dodging a stray sand bullet that uprooted an ancient tree he used to nap in. Your territory? I thought the oh-so-mighty Kurama didn't need any human territory. The ANBU teased. He was enjoying the feeling of power coursing through his body, the chakra already having healed the damage from the fourth tail save some muscle soreness. Laughing a bit, Naruto kept his mind off of Deidara even as he used repetitive shunshins to speed up the trek. Kurama snorted. Keep opening your trap and I'll unleash a Bijou Dama up your skinny little hide. What? Naruto could feel Kurama mentally face-palm. Why is my vessel so stupid? The Bijou Dama what you used just now, brat. It's the most powerful of our attacks, and your idiot flesh bag of a father based that pathetic Rasengan off of it. Naruto meant to respond, but the sight of Deidara being thrown from his bird as a clay explosive made half of Shikaku fall apart stopped all thought but instinctive movements. Deidara. Naruto's scream bubbled out, seeing his comrade and friend fall, only to be wrapped in sand, the familiar crunch echoed in his ears. Hundreds of chains flew forward, severing the connection the sand had to the main body. The part containing Deidara fell through the air, though no bloody body of his friend emerged, making him fear the worst. Naruto and Kurama, as one, roared in the sky, 3 and 4 tails coming out together, their combined rage getting over the hesitance they once had to employ the fourth tail. The blonde and his Bijou stared up at Shikaku in hate, Kurama roaring insults. Shikaku, now fully formed once more, peered down at the pair. Chuckling, the madness could be heard for miles. Well, my big brother and his little vessel, how pathetic. Big brother is trapped by the chains again. Ha ha ha. Shikaku reared his head back and laughed, his Jinchuriki flopping uselessly on his head. Well, you're too late. The little flesh bag finally let me out to play and I'm never going back. Blood. 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 Show me your blood. You killed my teammate. You killed my comrade. You murdered my friend, you son of a bitch. Emotion fueled Naruto's lust for death. Naruto. Kurama snapped, finally getting his human to listen. What, Kurama? Send me as much chakra as you can, I'm killing this bastard. All rational battle plans were forgotten, until his supply of chakra was ruthlessly ripped away. No, you listen here. I'm supposed to be the killing machine, not you. Stop acting like a wild animal and fight like. Ugh, it hurts to say it, but fight like a shinobi. Shinobi, no matter how much it pisses me off to admit, have defeated my brethren before, now do the same, or your village will be wiped out. Naruto calmed down, but felt a stray tear fall down his cheek despite his training. Then, Kurama stopped his tears with a final sentence before flowing his chakra back through his core. The other blondie is still alive, but caught in the sand. Defeat Shikaku and we get him back. Just make sure Shikaku bleeds. No problem, Naruto spoke aloud. His mask, still cracked, fell away as he dodged the onslaught of sand. Chakra chains wrapped around the countless trendles, making them useless. Shikaku screamed in protest, whining about not playing fair. Naruto just shook his head, glad that it was now clear. Jumping off trees that had started exploding while falling from the various trap seals, the blonde ANBU whipped out his sealed water. Torrents of water, over 1,000 gallons, spilled out into the air, glistening in the sunlight. Naruto ran through hand seals faster than ever before, letting his chains keep him steady. Water style, water dragon jutsu. His most powerful water attack, fueled by his focused anger, went straight to the head of Shikaku, turning most of the body to mud. Not stopping there, the ANBU continued wrapping the chains up the arms and tail, stopping the sand from reforming. However, it was proving to be a never-ending battle, with Shikaku forming in places Naruto's chains moved from. With a frustrated sigh across his masked face, he dodged the ginormous bullets of air Shikaku expelled. A trendle of sand the size of a tree wrapped around his ankle. With slight panic, Naruto switched with a falling rock, landing on the upper right arm. He gulped while looking up, just then realizing that Gara was completely asleep, just like the legends of past hosts. The host. Kurama observed. Naruto nodded absently. Kurama, how would we wake him up? Much less get up there? He mused. His partner snorted. A good bump to the head should do it. That or blow them both up. Naruto's sweat dropped, and started using multiple shunshin across the body of Shikaku, jumping off the limbs of a frustrated Bijou. Hold, still. I want your blood, Shikaku whined. The blonde Jinchuriki casually noted that Shikaku was a 1,000-year-old child, as the beast proceeded to stomp the ground. The fact that the ground broke up from the impact did not make it any less ridiculous. Hundreds of clones exploded in the air, covering Shikaku, who started batting them away. Their purpose was to distract him, and they did, as the beast released a Bijou Dama into the sky. The real Naruto landed by the ears and grinned, unsealing more water. Make sure you hit him good, flesh bag. Kurama cheered, knowing what was to come. Water style, water bullet, he screamed, and 6 bullets of water shot straight at the snout. Shikaku roared in pain and clutched his snout. Using the opportunity, Naruto wrapped the entire upper body of the sand demon up, feeling its chakra being forced to retreat. He used a shunshin, appearing next to the sleeping Gara. Channeling chakra to his fists, the blonde Jinchuriki pounded the redhead, and grinned when the boy snapped awake. No. I just got out. I'll kill you next time, Kurama. And you too, you filthy Uzumaki. Instantly the sand fell, like puppets without strings, Gara starting to fall with it. Naruto anchored a chain to one of the few trees standing as they fell side by side, Gara looking wiped out with scorch marks, likely from Deidara's art littering his body. Catching the slightly smaller boy, Naruto lit his fingers in the way Jiraiya-sama had taught him. He didn't want to do this, didn't want to complete the capture, but Gara had started gathering Bijou chakra once more, and Deidara had yet to be spotted. With the fumblings of a novice, Naruto slammed his fingers over the Jinchuriki seal, knowing he hit the right spots when the last remnants of Bijou chakra filed away. Gara hissed, falling unconscious once more. Letting the ANBU collapse tiredly on a tree branch, breathing heavily. That last water jutsu had been risky, draining most of his chakra, as keeping control of water while in his chakra cloak was messy. Oi! Don't fall asleep now. Kurama barked, already sensing his host's fatigue. He snapped awake, letting Kurama spread out their senses now that Bijou chakra wasn't choking it out. With lead legs, Naruto and the sleeping Gara followed to a downed tree in the direction of the village, and the sight made his heart seize. Deidara, his explosion-happy friend, sat heaving blood onto the ground, clutching a mangled arm. Sand, which had obviously been crushing his body, was scattered. Fox. Naruto remembered at the last moment, as his friend still had his mask on. Deidara's head shot up, pain glazing his eyes but managing a nod. Mouse. You did it? He asked with a slur. When Naruto nodded, he sighed in relief. Good. I got the Jonin, Baki, was it? Yeah, I blew him up good. But the girl, she disappeared. Maybe I was too soft, but the red brat, Gara? What happened again? Why is everything fuzzy? That's when Naruto got a good look at the injuries, and set out with his medical kit. A crisscrossed pattern from a blade of some sort on his back and a crushed arm. Those injuries. He pushed them to the back of the mind, figuring they'd worry about the long term later. For now, he had to get his friend to the medical tents. Summoning Jutsu, Hisoka appeared, the silent tiger pulled from whatever battle he had been fighting. Hisoka, I need you to help me carry Gara, this prisoner to the village while I carry Deidara. Best to remember all the boy had done to his village. It was proving had now that the lust of battle was gone, however, Naruto knowing that he just made a fellow Jinchuriki a prisoner of war. Hisoka nodded in assent. Sighing, he put the boy on the tiger's back, and clutched his ribs. Chakra exhaustion and battle made him want to curl up for a nap, but he forced 3 clones to appear and help him carry his comrade back. Naruto, I'm going to sleep. We'll talk later. His partner said quietly as they reached the village checkpoint and get accepted by ANBU medics. He nodded while being led to a small tent for a quick checkup, being told that the invasion was mostly over, the grim yet hopeful faces of the medics making the day seem not so hopeless. When he informed a captain of the dome and the trapped Kaguya, sharp intakes of breath were inhaled before 8 ANBU freshly healed shot through the forest to hopefully capture or at least kill the pair. Little did he know a certain Sannin had not only escaped, but saw his face and battle. And little did he know that Deidara didn't check to make sure Baki was blown to bits, the man's pain and battle with shikaku distracting him. As it was, Naruto wasn't thinking about such things, and instead turned to the medic once his ribs were wrapped and he was given something for chakra. Exhaustion. How is Hokage-sama? And did we kill Orochimaru? He asked. The medic stiffened mid-smile and looked away. I think that's a conversation you and I should have after your report, Mouse. Dragon-sama's voice drifted quietly by his ear. Standing behind him, bloody yet relatively unharmed, was his commander. Naruto kept his voice even, but his eyes betrayed his worry. Dragon-sama? Just follow me, Mouse. His commander passed a spare mask to him, and the pair began a slow jog back to the village, a grim commander and worry-filled ANBU agent lost in their thoughts. The invasion was won, but what was the cost? Naruto wondered this and more as his village passed by him, bathed in blood. What was the cost of victory? With Naruto Konoha Hospital. Naruto stared stoically at the monitors keeping its patient alive. To see such a shinobi reduced to a breathing mask amongst a body of bandages was what shocked the young ANBU more than words could express. How did he end up like this? Naruto asked his commander. The man leaned against the wall near the window, seemingly staring at nothing. However, Naruto knew his commander, could tell the minute tensing of the shoulders that gave away the anger and weariness. He was lucky, facing off against 2 resurrected Kage and the traitor would have meant certain death for anyone else. Of course, your squad members protected him admirably, like true shinobi. Naruto sucked in a breath. Wolf-senpai, Cat-senpai. Dragon-sama, did they? He couldn't finish his sentence. They're alive, though Cat is in a coma, much like Hokage-sama here. Wolf is busy tracking Orochimaru's escape route. So he survived. Naruto spat bitterly. The whole point of Hokage-sama fighting was to kill the bastard and yet he got away while the man Naruto viewed as a grandfather, despite their rocky past, lay on death's door. Not without injuries. He won't last long without the medical expertise of someone Tsunade-sama's caliber, nor will Hokage-sama. We haven't had Tsunade-sama in the village for decades, though, and only the Hokage can order her back. Naruto pointed out. Which is exactly what I'm doing. Dragon said. Huh? Dragon seemed to smirk under his mask. Yes, Hokage-sama saw fit to saddle me with the ball and chain of the job, the bastard. We were planning on announcing it to the village after the invasion, but all the paperwork is in place to put as incumbent should he be out for the count but still alive. The daimyo himself approved of it. Naruto felt an odd mix of emotions. On one hand he was elated his commander was going to be the Hokage. Nobody else had the leadership skills Dragon-sama had, not to mention he'd get to see who he was under the mask. On the other hand, having Dragon-sama be Hokage would no doubt mean no shinobi could rest. If I have to put up with it, those slacker Chunin can too. Let's make way for the slave driver Hokage. I can sense you thinking. Something that would land you as my sparring partner, Mouse. Dragon mused. Instantly the ANBU was at attention. No matter, I have an S-ranked mission for you. Naruto gulped at the heaviness of the room, but just nodded to show he accepted. Dragon-sama tilted his head in approval. I would normally have you stay near the village, as we need our Jinchuriki. However, with our forces exhausted, and many Chunin and ANBU facing retirement if not treated by Tsunade, Fox and Cat being two of those numbers, I cannot do that. The available genin would slow you down and the Chunin and Jonin are either not in the know or are not equipped to handle such a task. The village needs you, as you're the only one available with the skills. Don't give me that bewildered look, you are an accomplished shinobi, Mouse. Hiruzen knows it and so do I. Thank you Dragon-sama, Naruto said quietly, glancing down at the barely hanging on Hokage. Now, you are to track down Tsunade-sama and get her to return to the village to administer aid and set up our hospital. Jiraiya-sama has some leads but I knew he would take his sweet-ass time getting her back, time we don't have. Naruto barely caught the thick scroll with all the known locations of Tsunade-sama, and began looking over it while the commander continued. Hokage-sama was struck by Orochimaru's personal poison by sword, which weakened him even after being eradicated. On top of that, his wounds are massive, requiring finesse our medics don't have. They estimate he has 3 weeks before his coma becomes permanent. I expect you back in 2, is that clear? Hi, Dragon-sama. Now, before you head out, you need to know a few things about our stray medic. As Naruto listened to the quirks his target had, he had to wonder if he would have been better off just offering himself up to Orochimaru rather than face the monster lady's wrath. Meanwhile, with Hikaru. Hikaru grimaced as he and the tracker Nin tore through the forest, trying in vain to catch a whiff of Orochimaru. The minions had evaded capture and carried their slowly dying master away. Konoha Shinobi had orders to kill or capture all enemy combatants before they reached the borders, but to not cross them, it would be suicide to risk it when they were already tired from the invasion. Reaching the border with sound, the Inuzuka caught the nauseating scent of Orochimaru, growling in frustration. He crossed. What now, Taicho? The Inuzuka, Hana to be exact, asked. Hikaru sighed while thinking. We patrol the border until a new border guard arrives. I'll send word to the village. Dragon-sama will more than likely insist we search for stragglers for the next several weeks. With that he led his team, him, an Aburame, Hana, and 2 other Chunin back to the safety of their border, mind already traveling to the hell he lived through. If only I'd been faster. I'm sorry, Yugao-senpai. Flashback, invasion with Hikaru. Hikaru blocked the Mokuton blow from the first Hokage. The resurrected leader had risen 5 minutes ago, pairing with his brother to separate him and Yugao from their leader. So far it was working. Hikaru's eyes ached at the intensity he was using, but he plowed on, slicing the wood with his heavenly rotation. Suddenly the Mokuton stopped attacking him, and Hikaru realized too late why. His blind spot held Yugao. He turned around at the sound of flesh being torn apart. There was Yugao, his big sister from another mister, being impaled by several Mokuton spikes. Her katana, the one she always said carried her very soul, the soul of a warrior, snapped in half from a water dragon's jaws. She took it bravely, never uttering a sound even when tossed into the air, thus ripping the spikes out. "Why, Yugao?" he screamed, his world stopping. Flashback end. From there the battle was fuzzy in his rage. Orochimaru screamed as Hokage-sama dealt him a mortal blow, flinging him into the barrier's flames. Jiraiya-sama ripped the barrier down at that moment, sealing the reanimated Hokage with the help of Hikaru and other ANBU. Hokage-sama kept fighting despite his injuries, and allowed himself to fall only when the traitor fled with his guard. Dragon-sama arrived 5 minutes later, ordering him to assemble a team and start searching for the bastard, either finishing off the man or making sure he left the land of fire. And now Hikaru sat on a branch eating rations, praying Yugao and the rest of his team survived, that when he got back they could have a squad dinner like old times. "Orochimaru, I swear it on my eyes, you will perish for what you've done. If one of my family died I will hunt you down, consequences be damned." And thus a vow of anguish was made, the Team Hyuga aging years in the span of a day. With Konohamaru. Konohamaru always knew he'd be a great Hokage, even Boss believed in him. He used to think it was all about being great at jutsu and stuff, but then Boss taught him what it really meant to be Hokage. It meant being there even when things were tough. He wanted to curl up on his grandpa's lap and cry, ask why Irika had to. But his grandpa was somewhere he couldn't go. Not even the scary dragon guy would tell him anything, just that he couldn't see him. All the shinobi were busy gathering the dead or other stuff. Konohamaru and his friends, let out of the shelters, were ordered to go home for the day and report tomorrow for cleanup. Konohamaru was supposed to go with Momo, since Irika-sensei was. But here they were, in Momo's kitchen where her mama lay in a puddle of blood. Her clothes were ripped and Konohamaru knew from the academy that what happened was wrong. Momo did too, causing her to cry harder, holding on to her only living parent. First Irika had to. And now Momo's mom. Konohamaru wished to cry. But, he was going to be Hokage. So he hugged his friend tightly and dragged her downstairs to find one of the body collectors before taking her to Moegi's house. It's what a Hokage, his grandpa, would do. Just why did Irika-sensei have to die too? With Dragon. Sighing, Shursui held his annoyance in as 15 different shinobi and clan heads demanded his attention at the emergency meeting. "We should go to Suna and wipe them out," one elder shinobi argued. "Take their biju out of their captured Jinchuriki and put it into one of our shinobi," another elder tried to add. "We need to bury the dead immediately," a clan head fretted. "Dragon, let me go after Jiraiya started only to be silenced by Shursui's hand. Mouse's mission was S-class and secret from most at the moment. They believed the Jinchuriki was recovering and having his seal checked before being sent on patrols. No need to worry the masses by releasing that he was being sent on an almost impossible task. Silence, all of you. God, I've had toddlers be less obstinate than you lot. Jiraiya-sama, you know the mission I need you on, it will protect him the quicker you succeed." Jiraiya nodded, apologizing. Shursui blinked, a bit surprised, but continued. "We will not be leading war parties to Suna until we regroup and then we would assess our options. Nor will we be declaring open war by stealing the enemy's bijou, yet. If we decide to reseal it, I and Hokage-sama will demand that it be done in secret with a child that is compatible. There will be no mistakes like the ones with Naruto Uzumaki, letting the village fear him when they should worship him for the military power he grants us." But Hamura tried to interject. No buts. Now, finally, we will be systematic in burials. Civilian cadavers will be buried over the next 7 days. In 2 weeks we will bury the shinobi, after each body has been properly prepared to prevent grave robbing or resurrections. We had 2 Hokage risen up by a madman today. If they hadn't been contained when they had, we would have no village to call our home. But clan traditions state that Hyuga are encased in stone coffins and buried within 2 days, dragon. Hisashi said. Shursui shook his head. Not anymore, not for shinobi, that is. We cannot risk enemies taking advantage of our dead. Each shinobi will be autopsied and have their personal belongings sent to families, the rest of their bodies are to be cremated and the ashes buried or given to families. We will have a mass memorial for them all in 2 weeks' time. The room was quiet, knowing their acting Hokage was correct. Until then they will be kept in stasis seals. Next meeting is tomorrow evening. I want reports over every needed repair and head counts, am I clear? Yes, Dragon-sama, was murmured, and the room emptied save for Jiraiya and Shursui, still decked in his stifling commander garbs. He'll be alright, you know, he's tough, quick, and those damn chains will save him. Not to mention those summons. We're lucky he could summon so many during the invasion. Shursui mused. Jiraiya sighed. I know, he'll do the mission. The question is if Tsunade-sama will even be able to help. You know it's a long shot that sensei can be saved, right? I know. Mouse didn't need to, however. He needs to be hopeful, it's the only thing that will give him the strength to carry on. Now come, you have a mission and I have village to keep running. Jiraiya chuckled, already looking forward to what changes the young official Kage to be would implement. With Naruto rushing through the trees, thoughts of the past day flooded the young ANBU's mind. Dressed in nondescript, non-shinobi wear that allowed his uniform to be invisible under it, Naruto was the picture of a spy. He had 2 weeks to track down Tsunade-sama without scaring her off. If she listened to the orders, unlikely, great. If not, he was ordered to bring her back by any means necessary as long as she was alive and able to work. Hence his restocked tags and water scrolls. Naruto snacked on several ration bars and knew that he had a long 2 weeks to go. Thankfully Angel, his best friend and partner, was curled into his pack, resting up. She saved many during the invasion, it seemed, yet insisted on accompanying him. It was nice to have one member of his family by his side, at least. Finally, with Orochimaru. Orochimaru screamed in agony, the burns eating into his very chakra network, the wounds and the poisons killing him. His hands lay utterly devoid of their chakra network, making his body switch impossible with the other injuries. If only Kabuto was here. Too bad he wasn't at his base where the samples of his medic lay ready for him to resurrect. Even then, the medic might not be enough. He needed Tsunade. And now. Get the rest of your worthless team together, Kimimaro, we have a little road trip. The Sannin hissed before downing several medications. They would only slow down the inevitable, but it would hopefully be enough. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to like and subscribe, and don't forget to share this video with your friends. Guys, make sure to help the author by visiting the link in the description. This is Fox Sage, and I'm signing off.